everyone, I'm Natasha, and today I'm going to be discussing The Wrath of the Dawn and The Rose and the Dagger by Renee Adhieh. So I just marathoned these books. I listened to both of them through audible.com because my friend Mary said it's a great audiobook and they actually pronounce all the words right. I started with the first chapter, I'm like, I think I can do it, and then as I got to some words, I'm like, I think I'm going to get the audiobook. This book was very different from other books I've read. It's a retelling of Arabian Nights, but it definitely feels like kind of like a Beauty and the Beast story. The main character, Shahrazad, volunteers to be the Caliph of Khorasan's new wife, and you have to know that the Caliph has been killing all of his wives. He only marries them for one day, and they're found dead the next morning with a silk cord around their throat. And obviously you can't arrest the Caliph because he is the king of the land. I love this duology so much. It was so refreshing to read. It was a beautiful romance. Oh my goodness, that's what I loved the most about it. I really enjoyed all the cultural aspects in this book. I feel like it's Indian, or is it Arabian? I'm not too certain about that. I feel like I've learned so many things about what people wear in those times and like all the jewelry and adornments. This book is categorized as a fantasy novel, but I don't feel like that is its strongest point. I feel it's more of a survival romantic story. It's a lot like Outlander in that sense. You do get to know a lot about Scotland when you read Outlander, and they kind of categorize it as a fantasy because of the whole time traveling aspect. It's more about the characters and their relationships with each other and the culture that surrounds the characters than it is about the fantasy elements in the story. I've never finished a duology before. I mean, I'm reading Passenger and the second book hasn't come out yet, but this was such an interesting reading experience for me because it's only 2 books. As I was finishing the second book, I'm like, how is this all gonna wrap up into just 2 books? But it did, and it wrapped up so beautifully. Like, the story is so concise. I don't know why stories don't come in 2 books more often. The 2 books are very different from each other. There's a ton of character growth. The main character, Shahrazad, or Shazi, is so wonderful. She's a badass. She is so quick with her tongue, and I love that in characters. And then the main guy in the story, Khalid, he is very stoic, and you feel so much for him. The other secondary characters, like Despina, she is Shahrazad's handmaiden. She's Greek. She's curvaceous. She's sassy. Oh, I love her. She's so saucy. Like, I kind of related to Despina in a bit because we're both Greek, but the curvaceous thing, yeah. It was really nice to be represented in a book because I don't think I've yet to read a book about Greek culture yet. I know there are tons out there, but it was nice to be represented in this book. I want to see more of this, more cultural representation. I just love books set in different countries because I like learning more about them. Like, that's why I love Scotland so much, because of Outlander. These books kind of just make you have an understanding of different countries and what they go through and their culture. I've said culture 5 million times. 5 out of 5 stars for The Wrath and the Dawn, and I'd say 4.5 stars for The Rose and Dagger. I didn't enjoy it as much, but it was still so good. It's a good duology to marathon, and I would definitely highly recommend you go read it. I'm really excited to see what Renee Adhieh is going to come out with next because this was such a good debut. That about wraps up my spoiler-free section of this review. Go out, go get it, go read it, go enjoy it, and then you can come back and kind of talk a little bit of the spoilery aspects of the duology with me. Bye! Leave now. You don't want to get spoiled because it's so good. I'm going to assume that you've all read it now. Yeah. I really, really, really loved the first book. I love all the emotions I felt in this book, all of the trepidation I felt when going into this relationship with Khalid and Shahrazad. I was terrified for her in that first night, and I wanted to know how the hell she lived through it, because you know she's gonna live through it because this is a whole book. It was so clever that she told a story to Khalid, and it made him so interested in the story. I was so interested in the story. I didn't want her to stop. I remember being like, wait, I want to know what happens. Usually when characters tell another story in a story, it's not my favorite thing to read. I love Khalid's and Shazi's romance so much. I really like that trope in books where it's like the captor and the captive and they start falling for each other. It's like the whole Beauty and the Beast thing. I know it's like a controversial topic, but I enjoy it. If it's done right, I really enjoyed that trope. Shahrazad was so fierce. I loved it. I love how she just like talked back to people. Khalid would just let her talk, and like especially when the king of Parthia came to dinner and she was just so quick with him. The couple things that I had problems with in the whole duology was the magical aspects of it. They weren't strong, and I don't think that they were resolved very well, especially with Khalid and his sickness, like his sleeping sickness. All Khalid had to do was like slash his hand with blood and drip it on the book and then stab it. I thought a lot of it was very easy to get over. It reminded me a lot of Once Upon a Time. In Once Upon a Time, a lot of the plot lines in the story are easily taken care of and we easily get a happy ending. I kind of felt that way about this book in that sense that a lot of things were very easy. That's like the only little thing I could say about the books. Sometimes it is just nice to read a book that doesn't have a lot of heartbreak in it. That little twist though with Despina in The Rose and the Dagger, she was a double agent or she was a triple double agent, and so like, whoa! She became my favorite character in the first book, and to see that she was actually the king of Parthia's real daughter, I wanted to like go across the table, like pull her hair and be like, you were friends! We were friends! But the end, where we thought everything was okay and there wasn't going to be a battle, very reminiscent of Breaking Dawn, might I say. The dad stabs Khalid. I was like, I actually like took an inhale of breath because I'm like, no, this is the end of the book. He cannot be dead. Like, we had one death. It was Rahim, and I wasn't saddened by that. I feel sad for the sister, but it was a good death. That was a good person to kill. Renee. The father sacrificed himself for Khalid and their love, and that was good. That was very good. Everything kind of came full circle at the end there. Was not a fan of Tariq at all in this book. He's kind of like Gale from The Hunger Games, where he's just there and he's annoying and he's trying to disrupt this perfect relationship. He's basically the one who killed Rahim because he's the one who got all mad about seeing the braid, oh my gosh, I almost forgot about that, of Shahrazad on the floor, and he got all up in arms about it. Besides the father stabbing Khalid, I was most upset about the fact that the guard sawed off Shahrazad's braid. I love my hair so much. Like, oh goodness gracious, I would be devastated if someone decided to cut off all of that long, beautiful hair that took me years to grow. And we could tell in the epilogue that Tariq and Yasmin became, I don't think they're husband and wife yet, but they're maybe on the right track in that Yasmin became the Khalifa, no, I think it's the Khalifa of Parthia, right? Would that be the right wordage? I can't remember. So that's about wraps up my spoiler part of the review. I would have to say my favorite part of both books, oh gosh, I don't know. Probably that night in the first book where they fell in love, and that morning she woke up to a note and a rose, and that was just feels inducing. Thank you guys all for watching. Please further the discussion in the comments with me. I'd love to talk about this book more. I'm Natasha. I'll see you all in the future. Keep calm and fangirl on. Bye!